Good evening, folks. I think it's the first time that I've ever actually been sat here waiting for half past six to get around. So yes, it's half past six and I'm live. Well, it's 18:31 according to my computer, but we'll forget about that. With the delay and everything, I could pretend I'm on time. Hi, hello. We're live. We're going to carry on with this guy tonight. As usual, a quick shout out to Maurice. Her name is just nipping along the bottom there, who is a third layer Patreon supporter. So thank you, Reese. You get a shout out at the beginning of every single one of my live streams, as anybody else who wants to jump in on Patreon at the same level. Hi. um, it's been fun, and a quick shout out actually, because I know full well that he's up in bed watching. So hi, Wyatt, you're right. Hopefully he'll stay up there tonight. He's watching in bed while his sister's out. He's pinched her phone and watching me. He wants to see what this is all about. So hi, hello. If you're watching as well, give a shout out if you're here. I don't know if you're watching if you don't say hi. And I mentioned Patreon. If anybody happens to want to show me anything or wants to join Patreon while I'm live, you'll get a shout out as it comes through, because my phone will go nuts. If you want to tag me in anything, you can hashtag it with a B of OPS live, and just tag me in anything through my various social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can tag me, you can show me anything that while I'm live, and I can have a chat about it. Otherwise, let me know what you're working on while I'm working on this, and any questions or so on. I don't really have much of a build up today, so I think we'll just get on with cracking on with it, shall we? Let's get cracking. And Reese is here. Everybody hopefully is here who wants to watch. The comments should be there somewhere. Let's have a gander. Why isn't that? Why hasn't the? There they go. There they are. So we can just get cracking, I suppose. I just forget to change something here. There we go. Right. We'll get cracking on with it tonight. I haven't got much of a build. It kind of threw me actually. Usually I'll waffle on for about 10 minutes before we get started, but I don't really have much to waffle on with tonight. Where are we so far on this guy? I mean, we've done the whites, we've done the gold. We've got some bone stuff that needs doing. We've got some details that we need to just pick out before we do the bones in the bottom there. I think we'll pick out some of these pipes and so on. We've got some purity seals to do. A few metallics to do. Knocking about the place. We've got the gemstones and so on to do. I think what we're going to do first though is I just want to nip in. I want to get those pipes. I want to get a nice matte finish down there. So we'll get some matte paint going on down there. Pick up some pipes, and then we'll get on with some bone tonight, I reckon. My favourite matte paint, if anybody happens to want to know, is this one from Tamiya. It's XF85. It's kind of like an alcohol-based acrylic, which is a bit weird in itself. But it's brilliant stuff, and it's called rubber black, and it really does dry like rubber. So while I'm here, I would love to know if anybody else happens to enjoy Kill Team, because I know I gave Reese a bit of a tester on Tuesday, and you enjoyed it, didn't you, Reese? I might have converted you into it. Or at least partially, at least. I mean, you're still a full-on 40k kind of gal anyway. But it's nice to have something else to play as well, I'm sure. If you can't quite see what I'm doing down there, I'm just grabbing this tubing that I would like to look like rubber. Righty ho, there we go. Grab the rubber down do want to grab this tube here. This will be rubber as well. I don't like metallic tubes, they don't seem to work very much. Basic miniature painting. Hi, how are you doing, Justin? Nice to see you here. We're just cracking on with this guy. Hopefully, I'm really hoping that I might actually get this guy almost done tonight. There really isn't actually a lot of detail left to do. We've got to do his claws, and I've got to do a few details and stuff. But actually, I think this guy will pretty much be finished by the end of the show. That's the hope, anyway. I will be putting some crackle paint down, which won't be dry, and I will have to have him done by the end of... I'll do that right at the end, so that obviously I can put it down and just leave it to dry. I'm doing alright, thanks. Getting it, I mean, the 6 weeks holiday is always a bit of a nightmare. Getting things, trying to get things done and worked on is difficult, trying to find the time, but other than that, we're doing alright. Actually, I'll tell you what, normally I'll show people what I've been up to. And I actually did something this week that I don't normally do. And Reese will attest to this. I actually stripped a model and repainted it. Let me just pop that to one side 1 minute, just for half a second. Where did I put him? He's vanished now. Where's he gone? Oh no, where's he gone? Oh, here he is. Look at this. I haven't done his base. I actually re-stripped this Scout, and some of you might have seen this on my Instagram feed. I did a little bit of a camo kind of look on this guy. Nothing kind of crazy camo, it's more like a soft blend camo. Still looks a bit dusty, but yeah, I kind of did this guy, and I'm quite glad that he came out as good as he did. Just for reference, this is how bad it is. Now obviously you guys that follow me on various social medias, you know how good my painting is, and so that's him, and that's a counterpart that he was stripped from. So we can kind of see, and if I show you the detail there going on there, yeah. So yeah, I'm quite chuffed with myself actually. I managed to strip that down and give that a repaint, and Kill Team being quite hot on my plate at the minute. I kind of like that game, and I know why it does as well. Yeah, I do have myself a little Scout for Kill Team, which I'm quite chuffed with. But yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'm doing pretty good on the whole, I think. Thank you very much. Yeah, he was. I mean, if he was a brand new Scout straight out of the box, I might have paid a bit more attention to him. I mean, I do have trouble with giving myself attention for old models. I don't like doing it. And I certainly don't like stripping models and repainting them. I just feel like I can't get emotionally invested in them. So for him to come out the way he did, I'm pretty chuffed with actually. I do tend to be a, well, I don't want to say elitist, because I'm not. Because I don't look down on new models, or sorry, look down on used models. But I do find myself not really paying as much attention personally to used models. So for him to have come out the way he did, I'm pretty chuffed with that. Right. Now I can't really see what I'm doing in here. It's very deep, that skull. Now if this was a GW plastic kit, that skull would have been separated, but if I remember rightly, yeah, this whole front plate was just one massive chunk of resin. So I'm just gonna have to figure it out. Just throw some black down there to colour him in. to do. And then like an idiot I went and touched the black down here, so I need to do that again. I don't know if the I'm not sure if the camera picks up this kind of black very well compared to the I think you can just about see that it's quite matte. This does catch the light a little bit, whereas this doesn't. So he's nice. Skull of the Skull God. Yeah, well, it's definitely quite a hell of a skull down there. It's always confused me actually about these dreadnoughts, how the skulls, they do make it look like the skull is the pilot, but they're really not, are they? You can't actually see the pilot inside. Hiya Tim, you didn't really miss much. I'm just doing a bit of matte black on the tubing of this dreadnought. I'm hoping to get him virtually finished tonight. And other than that, you missed just a picture of just a shot of my nice little scout that I managed to strip and repaint, which for me is quite an achievement. So yeah, you're pretty much up to speed, to be honest. Didn't really waffle on much today. And I was just saying how cool Kill Team is, but I'm sure people are going to start getting sick of hearing that. Oh, and that my boy's watching as well, so there's that as well. Right. So I think that is enough for the black ribbing and tubing and so on and so forth. Now there was something I wanted to try actually on this model, and I don't know if it's going to work, and if it doesn't work it means I'm going to have to come back in and redo the wings, because this isn't a Chaplain dread and it's going to be a Death Company dread. We have the red weapons and the red Solitaire cross, or is that what they call it? Solitaire, is that what they call it? Anyway, the red cross on his arm. And we got the red weapon on that side, but there's not really much to determine that this is a Death Company dread. Not really. But what I wanted to do, and I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'm going to dry brush a little bit of red along these wings. Now I need to try and find myself a reasonably flat dry brush, but one that I can control quite well, because I don't want this red to go all over the place. I don't want it to catch any of the gold, and I don't want it to catch any of the black either. But I'm just going to give it a try, and we're going to see what it looks like when we're done. So let's grab some tissue, and we're just going to see what happens here. It could work terribly and it just looks absolutely awful, but we'll see. Now the trick to this, obviously, wiping off almost all of that paint. You don't want any left over. What we could do is we can just catch on the end there. There's a little bit of paint catching. It might be a bit much actually. Right, let's have a look. See if we can just come along. Did we do the white on those? Yeah, we did, didn't we? I just want to catch the edge of these wings. Like so. I don't want it to be a crazy highlight. I just want it to kind of look, I don't know what I want it to look like, but it's not even showing up on there very well, is it? As usual, I'll put my obligatory Instagram post up when we're finished. If you really can't see that, I don't know if that really shows very well. And if I turn off this light, you kind of see it, can't you? That white red, that red we'll see what it looks like when we're done, and if needs be I'll just end up just repainting the wings. That's the other thing as well, is I mean you know, there's many people actually use you'll hear, if you go onto any of these painting sites on Facebook or anything, you talk about anything, you ask them, you know, rules about painting, most important rules, and everyone will tell you to thin your paints. And to an extent it's true that it is one of the most important rules, because that's how you get the better control, it's how you can build up your layers nicely. But the other reason that you want to thin your paints is just generally because if you make a mistake, if you've got really thick paint, or if you're using paint to the absolute limit of its viscosity, density, whatever you want to call it, and if you're using your paints to the absolute limit to that, and you've got all your detail, but you know you're pushing it, if you then make a mistake, you can't just paint over it, you know, because then you're adding more layers onto it. Whereas because I've done this, I could then quite easily paint over that. I haven't used very thick paint. I'll just paint back over it and go, nah, I didn't like it, and then as soon as I paint over it, it will disappear, and I haven't actually lost any real depth to the model, so I can still pick out all these details, and I'd still be able to dry brush it without a problem. So yeah, I mean, how does that show up? I mean, it looks, yeah, you can just see that, just that little bit of red on the end there. I think that'll do. We'll see how he looks when he's finished the rest of the model, because there's something else as well, is you never actually really know how it looks until it's done. I mean, you might look at it and go, I'm not so sure. Wait until he's finished, because the whole model looks completely different when you put that final colour on. The model looks completely different. So we'll just leave that. We'll see what it looks like when it's done. Now we're going to go cracking on with bone tonight. And I'm hoping that my Zandri dust, or more to the point, my what do I use? My khaki from Vallejo. I'm hoping that this is going to hold out, because I am running dangerously low of this stuff. And my local store doesn't have it in. And I don't really want to be paying eBay prices. Well, it's the same price, it's just got to pay postage for it. So I'd rather not. So hopefully this is going to last me, at least for this model. Which would be nice. Oh, and there's an update on that new Mephisto model that I will be getting. Where's the camera pointing? There. Update on Mephisto model. It's not here yet, which is a shame. However, I have had an email to say that it should be on its way shortly. I don't know where Wargames exclusive are in terms of, you know, where the company is. I think it's mainland Europe somewhere. So that's why it's going to take some time. I think I read somewhere it's in Poland, so we're just going to have to wait for that. And as promised, it doesn't matter what project we're working on, when that model does arrive, I will be opening it live on the following channel that, you know, it turns up. So you will get that to watch. So that's going to be quite interesting. We'll see what it looks like. And hopefully I will be one of the first to receive it online, so you might see some other online people have received it and they might open theirs as well. I haven't seen anybody having any kind of pre-release ones, so with any luck that will arrive and I'll be one of the first with it. What would be good is if it arrived on a Thursday. Now here you go. Let's see if this works. I want to do a quick poll on YouTube now. These here, they got some sort of ribby kind of looking things underneath, right? In the comments, yes or no. Do I paint those ribs bone or do I leave them silver? Oh no, yes or no. Right, yes or no. Do I paint them bone or not? See if that goes. Let's see if you guys can kind of help here, because I'm not sure. Marie says paint it bone. Does anybody want to agree or disagree with Reese there? We got 2 for bone. I think you'd be outnumbered, Justin, if you said bone, even if you said silver, I think. So we'll get them bone as well. Why not? There we go. How's that for audience participation? Right. Right, here we go. Right, there we go. They're bone. I've appeased to the masses. There we go. What else we got down here? We got these bits. I've never understood what the fascination with GW is having. I can understand skulls. Skulls are cool. Okay, you can put skulls on things, and that's fair enough. But I mean, we're talking here. Look, they've got leg bones. I mean, yeah, okay, it's in the leg, but still, I mean, they're bones. I mean, they're not even skulls. They're literally just bones. I think there's some ribs in here as well. I mean, GW will soon be putting bits of skeleton. There'll be a pelvis around there somewhere soon. I'm sure they'll start putting pelvises and a backbone and things. So that skulls are cool, but I mean, seriously, just random legs. Where's the appeal in that? Getting dangerously close to start ranting then, didn't I? Alright, I'll stop that now. I said, did you mean to write bone there, Wyatt? Alright then, so we've done it in bone. And that's my son upstairs, he's watching along, he's chimed in as well. Pinched his sister's phone. Right, we got a skull there which we'll do in gold, I think. Will we do it in gold? No, I tell you what, we'll do that in bone as well. And as you can see, I'm still manhandling, as I said a couple of times, I'm still manhandling the model. I've got my fingers all over it. The grease of my hands, it will start rubbing paint off. That's perfectly fine, because what it'll do is it'll give me natural places to chip it later. Right, we've got that done there. Right, well, I suppose that kind of makes sense, but I mean, seriously, walking around with the bones of your mates, I mean, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Right, what have we got here? Seraphim Sepia, which again I'm running out of. It's almost like I didn't think ahead to this week, isn't it? Let's get that Seraphis sepia under there. That will give us a nice bony kind of looking colour on that. Under there. There's in there. Get these nice and washed. Not quite sure how well I'm going to get the highlighting done on those when I've got to hold the model so far away so you guys can see it. It's a bit of a challenge. Right, so that was all the bone done. Right, so let's make a start on these claws, shall we? Because they are going to be really cool. Well, I say that, but we'll see. Right, we need some silver. I'm really not sure what you've written there, White. That is awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I think that's what you meant to write, White. Right. So we're going to go in with the lightning. No, not lightning claws. What are they? Blood talons. That's the one. But at the same time, this is Vallejo silver. So at the same time of painting, blocking in the talons, I'm also going to be picking out any gemstones. So I'll just pick out all of the claws. So what are people working on anyway? What are people got on their workbenches at the time being? and actually, while I think about it, Tim, that message that you sent me on Instagram the other day about the propaganda posters is I hadn't heard that, I hadn't seen that video before. And I might consider doing that myself on my own terrain. I am surprised, however, that they just use paper. That surprises me. It's just paper with PVA glue over it. Trying to get the hang of yellow. Avalon Sunset's your friend there. Or in my case, heavy gold brown from Vallejo. On an orc. Brilliant. Is that Rich? The yellow one's got lots of teeth. You've ordered a riptide. Which one's that? Which one's that? That's the towel with the massive guns, isn't it? Right, what am I looking for? I'm looking for... That's it. I'm looking for gemstones. I think I need to move this camera tonight. Where are we going? There. That's a bit better. Let's move the light a little bit. Gemstones. Got me some sunset, but the thing is, it will stop with the gas black spray. Okay, so I think the black. Yeah. If you're trying to paint yellow over black, you're gonna give yourself a headache. Yeah. It's my little trick is I undercoat everything grey. I do not use black primer, not at all. Or I don't do anything in black, not with a spray, unless of course I wanted the whole thing to be black. Black is such a strong pigment, it just comes through everything. I'm finding it really trouble staying focused in shot tonight. Yeah, black will always give you a nightmare to try and paint over. It's yeah, I can't stand it, to be honest with you. You wonder what it will look like when it's finished. Well, it's not. It's almost finished. This is almost finished. We've got just a few details left to go. Once we turn these claws blue, and pick out those gemstones. Got a few metallic points to pick out as well. The melter that's underslung here and the flamer. I'm hoping to try and get some heat bloom effects on those as well. Whether this will all get done this show, I don't know. I don't want to be spending too many shows on this one. He's already been 3 shows, is it now? And we do have some other things to work on. Oh yes, that's something that happened since last week as well, wasn't it? Was that happened since last week? I picked up the Renegade box. So yeah, there's 2 nights waiting to be done. I don't think I'll do both of them live. Patreon supporters will be able to decide what happens next after I have shortlisted. Anybody, as always, if anybody's got any ideas of what they want to see me do next, feel free to throw them down in the comments. And if it's a good enough idea, it'll go on the shortlist. And if it's a really good idea, it'll stay on the shortlist until it's done, I reckon. Right. Got a thing up there. That's the gemstones done. Now, if you remember way back when we started, I deliberately didn't paint the grapple launchers. And last week I did the gold, so these can now get painted in as well. My wet palette is really super thinned this paint. It's almost unworkable. There's too much water down there. To work with it though. For the reptile I have to get a grey spray, so I will see what it does on the orcs I haven't primed. Yeah, I think you'll find, Tim, that a grey undercoat will do you a world of good. As a general rule of thumb, I don't paint anything black with a spray unless it's a black model. I would much prefer to block in my blacks via brush over a grey spray than I would put any other colour over black. People have even said, there are people online and on various painting stages that will tell you that black is a good undercoat for metallics. And in my opinion, yeah, I don't see the benefit of painting anything black. Not spraying it solidly black anyway. I think if I remember rightly that my old scouts, they might have been primed black. In fact, I think they were, because as a new painter, that's what people said that you needed to do, was prime them black. And since I found that grey exists, I've never looked back. You didn't know they were grappling launchers. Yeah, they are grapple launchers. the overwatered paint has kind of coated these. Might be a off-camera tidy up when we're finished, I think. We'll see how they look when they're done. Most of them do, yeah. I mean, I am surprised at the quality that Duncan and what's the other bloke's name now? I can't remember. But the quality that they make with an undercoat of black, I'm surprised at, to be honest. But I would almost guarantee that the heavy metal team that actually do the minis for the codexes and White Dwarf and everything, I doubt that they'll be coated in black. I mean, they might be, and I'm missing a trick there somewhere, but I doubt that they would be. Right. Right, how am I going to do this? I think I am going to come straight in with another one of these Tamiya paints that I really like. Is Tamiya Clear Blue X23, if the light will actually stop shining all over it so you can see it. X23, I love this stuff. It's a clear blue paint. It dries slightly glossy as well, which is nice. Again, it's like an alcohol based acrylic, which that baffles me about that anyway, because alcohol itself eats acrylic, so I'm not quite sure how it works, but it does smell quite pungent. We're going to get these on here. Get these blood talons up blue. They're not a power weapon, so I'm not going to worry about trying to add lightning bolts and stuff into them. Well, they're not a power weapon as far as I'm aware. They're just mean and nasty. Symmetry. I'm taking this stuff straight out of the bottle. I mean, if I was using large areas, I probably could do with being thinned. It's quite a thick paint, but because it's alcohol based, it does go on thicker than it dries. The trick with using this stuff is not to play around with it too much. Get it on a coat and hope that you cover it up enough. You don't have to keep going over the same spot, otherwise you will start getting patchy paint jobs. It's something that I've just thought of. I wonder if the heavy metal team at GW even use GW's paints. I know for a fact that they don't paint their models the same way as what the tutorials will tell you to do. The tutorials are a fantastic base though. They do tell you how to get the models down right, and get them down, get the painting down to, you know, the basics, and they're really good at that. And I just wondered just how deviant they go from those tutorials to the models that you see in the codexes, because they've definitely got things like airbrushes and stuff that they use. See some of the blends that they've got on some of the bigger models. You'll never achieve that with a brush, not without spending weeks on a model, and I'm sure they haven't got that kind of time. When is my next live video? My next live video will be next week, same time. It's always on a Thursday night when the house is reasonably quiet. Just about finishing with the blue on these. There we are. Oh no, we're not. There's the trouble, we're not doing all three sides at the same time. Is that all three? There we go. That's them done. There we are. Right. That paint there. Okie dokie. So the next part is going to be the blood drops. And again, I'm not wasting time spending all my time trying to do, you know, flat painting and making it look nice. I'm just going to come straight in with the technical Spirit Stone Red, give it the gem paint treatment. It's like gems in a bottle, this stuff is. Which is why I went around and I painted all of the gemstones silver so far. And all I need to do is pick up some of this stuff and just paint it over the top. Oh, and I've gone and touched this blue, didn't I? Ah! This is what happens when I try and paint. I don't have my hairdryer handy. And even if I did, you'd end up hearing more hairdryer than you would me. Can't dry it, so I'm going to have to go back over these, back over the claws in the future. Again, that might just be an off-camera tidy up. Here. Gems on the claws. Is that all of the gems? Oh no, and the one on top there as well. Lovely stuff. Right, okie dokie. Right, so what I'm going to do now is, if I want to get this thing done, what is the time? 20 past 7. We'll see what happens. But what I need to do now is I am going to get some gloss medium. Now, if you haven't heard what I've said this before, gloss medium is this stuff. It is paint without any pigment. That bottle cost me about £7, and it is literally the same stuff as hard coat. Hard coat comes in at about £5, or is it £2.50 for 24 mil, something like that. And I got 250 mil for £7, and it's hard coat. That's basically what this is. So just paint that on there. I've done that in preparation for a transfer, and I need to bring back the YouTube comments, because they seem to have disappeared for some reason. So we'll bring them back. There we go. Yeah, so that's hard coat. I want to get a transfer on there. I want to put a Blood Angel logo on there at some point. I don't know if I'll get that done tonight. It's already 20 past 7, so we'll see. See what happens. Oh dear. It is warm, so I need to grab myself a drink. Oh, I've got a bottle down here. So move him into somewhere you can see how he's coming along. Right, that's a bit better. What are we going to do now? Right, we do need to highlight the bone. Now, I don't know if I can squeeze any more of this paint out of this bottle. Am I finished? I'm not finished it yet. No, there's still some more bits and pieces that need doing. It's getting quite warm in here as well. Right, so what we need to do is just layer up the bone. So we got the sepia down, so now we just need to bring back the bone colour on most of it. just pick out the highest edges and some of the flatter, bigger areas. Back up with the bone colour. One thing with resin is, I mean, some of the areas, some of the model is really highly detailed, and there's some of it that's a bit abstract, and you're just like, I can't really tell what's what here. Especially when you're looking for things like teeth. You just kind of do what you can. Come in with these bone ribs. Viewer demanded, so there we go, they are on there. I would like to see if I've got a transfer for the centre of that actually, right in there. If I do, I'll stick a red cross in the centre of that, and then maybe I'll see if I can find one of the Dark Imperium Blood Angel, tiny little Blood Angel logos that they've got in that. Or I might have one on on a Chaplain. What is it? I don't know if I've got one. I'll have a look, see if I can find a really tiny little transfer to go in the centre of that circle, just there. I think that would look quite cool. See if I can find one. Yep. Femur bones there. These ribs down the side here. I wonder if the ribs of the Space Marine that's entombed inside. Maybe that's his bones that he's carrying around. But then his head's there, so if that's the case, I'm pretty sure they still need a Space Marine's head to be fully working for him to be entombed in a sarcophagi, so I don't know about that. But I'm basically kind of just over brushing this. I mean, I'm not trying to find it too carefully. I'm just kind of, I don't have a lot of paint on the brush, and I'm just trying to just brush over it, just let it catch the high parts. I'm not spending too long trying to pick out all the details, just over brush it. It's a bit like dry brushing, just with a little bit wet. Slightly wetter paint. We picked out that guy as well, but I didn't wash him. I might come back with gold on those instead. Right, so we have got, there we go, so the bone is done. What we do need, what colour do I need them to be? Oh, that was it, yeah, right. So I'm going to pick out some of these purity seals as well, because they help to break up some of the monotony of the piece. And I'll use this heavy warm grey. I do believe it's called Pallid Witch Flesh in the GW range, or something similar to that. I'm not too up on all of the conversions at the minute. At some point in the future I will pick up all of the paints of all of the paint ranges one day, and I'll do a comparison, and I'll be able to show you exactly the comparisons between various colours. I didn't realise that there's actually a skull at the top of these purity seals here, so I don't know what colour I'll do that. I might just do it in gold. Whoops. Okay. So do that. And on that side there. Go right, so purity seals. Let's give this one, it needs a bit of depth around the back here. for getting underneath and behind it. Try not to catch the model. We're good on that side. Yeah, I think that's pretty much that. Oh, there was something else I wanted to do as well. Is now that I've finished the wings, from the start I know I wanted to dry brush the red on there. I just want to come back in and on the trimming at the top here. Just want to add some gold along there. Might help to highlight the red on the wings, and then come along here with the gold as well. Something else to look at. How about you finish the Tran next week? I don't know what you mean by Tran, White. But I'll get as much of it done as I can this week. We've still got about half an hour or so of the stream to go, so we'll see. So now what I want to do, the final highlight of the bone. Using, ironically, bone white. Here we go. And just going along, picking out the really highest points. Again, some of the details aren't so great, so you can kind of put some of them in where you think they'll be, but other than that, just abstractly do it. Finish the terrain next week. Well, the thing is, I haven't got the terrain, I haven't done any of the terrain live. So I don't think I'll do the terrain live. And also, the way I'm doing terrain is it's actually really quite a long process. And that'll be really, really boring. Sitting there watching me do terrain. I mean, terrain by its very nature doesn't have much in terms of detail to it. When you start assembling the first show, you use some sort of clay to hold the dread together. Ah, right, okay, yeah, because you are from a... Right. Whoops, I just broke something trying to grab it. Nuts! I just lost my grav shoots. Right, this is what it's called. And my boy upstairs, he knows what this is called. This is called blue tack. This is what I used. It's not really a clay. It's some sort of putty. The Americans, I know, call it poster putty, and essentially it's some blue stuff. It's just kind of blue. You can get it in white and so on and so forth. And you play around with it for a bit. You pull it and pull it and pull it until it turns into so it starts getting a bit sticky. And you can use this just to temporarily just hold things together. So it's sort of a gum thing. I'm not 100% sure exactly what it is in terms of what makes it, but it's blue tack. Yeah, blue tack. Well, it's let me write it down here. It's called blue tack. There we go. That's what it's called. And it's yeah, that's what I use to just all it is nothing. There's certainly nothing permanent about that, but you can just kind of hold things together, especially if you're doing modelling, and you've got some things that you need temporarily holding together. Especially if you're doing what it is handy if you're doing models that. Oh, there we go. I've just gone and lost my camera now as well. Look at that. It's great if you're using models that need arms holding in a particular place, so that you can set them right and glue the other parts on. Now I'm just going to try and sort this camera out now. I don't know what's going on here. Device is not available. Why is the device not available? Should be anything wrong with the device. Right, okay, let's... Right, something's gone wrong with my camera. It seems to have unhooked itself. Yeah, I guess yeah, it's great stuff. I mean, it's fantastic for holding bits of your model together that, you know, on the whole, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to stay exact. Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think here. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's great for modeling because it gives you a temporary bond where you might not necessarily need to glue it. And we also have some technical difficulties. Right, what's going on here? I seem to have lost a camera. Which one is it? Is that one I've lost? I moved something and it's gone. No, maybe it's that one. Is it that one that I need? We seem to have hit some difficulties. There we go. Right, we got it back. There we are. Oh, thank God for that. Oh, never do anything live. That's the trick. There we go. Early evening. Oh well. Right, here we go. Now, what is the time? What's the time? It's 22. Yeah, I'll allow that. It's that's told me to hold that comment for a review. I think that you need to spell come on dad is C-O-M-E, Wyatt. YouTube asked me if I wanted to show that comment. Right. There is Agrex Surshade on the purity cells. Now I just realised that the He's only 8, bless him, and he also has difficulties reading and writing, so I think we'll let him off with that one. Let's turn off the autofocus on the camera, because that is really going to start doing people's heads in. See if we can't get that thing focused. That's about there. There we go. Right. Okay, so we got skulls done. We got purity seals washed. We'll do the wax in a minute. Let's get some colour going on. Let's have a gander here. What colour have I got in there? Let's get some colour going on onto the melter gun and the flamer. It's a bit of a brass colour going down here. I believe it's called brassy brass, actually. So we'll pop this on here. And then we'll put some brass colour on this side as well. And we'll just go down into there. Yeah, I think I'm just going to coat this whole thing in brass, actually, this whole section. We'll wash it down, it won't be quite so shiny and pretty. You can tell I've got a fan in tonight, can't you? Right. He's even getting me to paint his Necrons as well. Mummy says I can't charge him for it, so he's going to have himself a commission painted Necron army for free. Right. And 45. No, so this is now, that's now clean, that dry. I'm beeping. What am I beeping for? There's memories and all sorts to look at. Fair enough. I don't care about memories on Facebook. Right. Where are we? What are we doing? What we got to do? Oh, we're going to pick out this skull in the bottom with gold. Yeah, he is a lucky guy, I tell you. I got a monolith on there. I've got some immortals to go. He's got the half of the. Basically, you got half the Forgebane box that he needs me to do. Very lucky indeed. Right, and then these were going to be in gold as well. Just going to go over that one that I did in bone earlier. And I do have that one up here. That could be in gold as well. No freebies. Yeah, I wish. I wish. The thing is, he still owes me the money for the Forgebane box in the first place, so, you know. I won't let him forget that. Alrighty then. What have we got left to go? We haven't got much left to do on this guy. We're getting there. We gotta wait for the... If only. He needs a tidiest room, and I might paint him one model. Wants me to paint a monolith. That'll be a tidy room for a month. There's not really much I can do about this. This is the Cult Mechanicus or Adeptus Mechanicus logo on the side there. I'm not going to mess around doing that too much. It's going to be a bit of a pain in the bum. Right. So what have we got? What have we got left to go on this guy? We haven't washed the grapple launchers. Yeah, they don't quite. You know what? It's one of those things, isn't it? Is you don't realise that actually they do kind of work. And kind of makes them really stand out. And I mean, they are really scary. Again, what I could do actually is maybe even dry brush a bit of red onto them. Yeah, actually, that's given me an idea. Let's do that now. Let's dry brush some red onto the tips of these. They are blood claws after all. So let's have a look to see what it looks like. Because again, it's all about experimenting, and we'll try and do something new. Try and do something I've never done before. So what I want to do is just catch the tips of these. So it will kind of look a little bit purple to some degree. It's a little difficult to dry brush the tips of these claws because of they are quite delicate and poking out at a weird angle. Some lights it will look a bit purple. I'm sure we can get over that. Let's have a gander at that, see how that looks. Go sideways on this one. Have I missed that one completely? I missed that one completely, that's why. Yeah, I don't think that these are a power weapon. And normally on power weapons I'd give it a bit of a lightning effect before I put the blue on. But, you know, there we go. So there we go, look at that, how's that? Some blood for the blood on Blood Gods, yeah, definitely. I think that's good. I think for the Blood Angels though, it's more of a mockery for the Blood God. They don't. I mean, he does have his eyes on the Blood Angels, doesn't he? He does want them for himself because of how lethal they are and how mean they can be and bloodthirsty. But on the whole, I think the Blood Angels are just too loyal. They're so loyal it hurts. Even 10,000 years later. Oh no, that's too soon. But we got some red going on there. I think it gives it a nice little dimension to it actually. And I'm glad you mentioned it. cool is that? There we go. That is nice. That does add something to that, doesn't it? Look at that, especially this one. Oh yes. There we go. Now that's nice. I do like that. That is beautiful. Now, once I've finished admiring that guy, we're going to come in and do some more work on the purity seals, or certainly the parchment. There's a bit of wash in there that hasn't quite dried, but we can, I'm sure I can go around that ish. There we go, something like that. There we go. That'll do. It's really bright, isn't it? There we go. Some spatter up his arms. I'll tell you what I will do actually is I will I'll grab some blood for the blood god when the whole thing's finished, and I'll give it a bit of a spray with a toothbrush or my blood spatter paintbrush, and give him a bit of a spattering right at the end after he's been dry brushed to tie him in with the base, as in so he's been marching across the dust and the desert, and then he'll get a spattering of blood just before, so it's nice and fresh. We do have, what's the time? It's 5 to 8. I do keep an eye on that. Depending on how well we're going, we might carry on after 8 o'clock, but on the whole I tend to aim for an 8 o'clock finish. We're just going to start with, we've got a couple of seals to pick out, a couple of the wax seals. Start with Warlord Purple, game colour again. Most of my colours are game colours. I should get Vallejo to pay me to do these shows. So we're going to pop on some purple on just on the wax. The paint is very watery, so I need to make sure I'm clean and tidy and not get any on the wings, otherwise we'll have a repaint on our hands. Yep, yeah, using a toothbrush, or I do have, I don't know if I still have it handy. Here we go. Oh, get it out of my holder. This is the alternative I've got. Is a very, very short bristle brush. I took a brush, it was a Humbrol number 4, and I snipped off most of the bristles. Obviously you imagine the bristles probably came to here, chopped them all off to that, and yeah, using just to get some blood for the blood god on the end of that, getting a little piece of plastic card or something, or a credit card or something, and just run it across and flick paint. It's brilliant way of doing things. Okie dokie. Right, so we have got some of these guys are dry as well. We need to start thinking about some heat bloom. So you'll have to bear with me with that, because the heat bloom takes a while. It's done all with washers, so you'll have to try and remember how I've done it, because without being able to use a hairdryer to speed things along, I'm just throwing some, no, that's Agrex. Oh well, let's throw some Agrex on there as well then. Whoops, there's a mistake. Never mind. Throw some Agrex on there. There'll be industrial metal then. There we go. then I'm going to use some there. So this is Agrex Earthshade to start, and that gives us a nice shading to the metallic parts. Why did I cut it? I said why I cut it. I'd cut it because it helps with the flicking of the brush. You can't flick paint with a pointy brush, not very well. You can't get the spatter. Right, so that is Agrex Earthshade on there. What else do we need? I think we're getting towards the end of this, actually, to be honest with you. There's not much left to do there. I can't really do anything. If you can see anything I missed, you can shout it out, but I don't think there is. I need to do some washes on the wax seals. There's the heat bloom to go, and the base. I think we're pretty much done. So while we're doing that, right, so while I'm waiting for the Agrex to dry on there, I think we are pretty much coming to the end of tonight's show. But before I do go, we got some crackle paint to go, and this is something I've made up myself. It is supposed to be in line with the Grelin Earth. Now you can see the colours aren't quite the same. I haven't quite matched the colours up right, but it's the same stuff. It's a crackle paste. It's you don't want crackle medium, that's too thin. You open this stuff up, and it is a very thick, gloopy product. It's not a, it is a paint, but it's very thick and gloopy. And it does exactly the same thing. You can pick this up. It's exactly the same stuff as a Grelin Earth. And that's what we're doing. So just before I end tonight's show, we will spread this stuff around everywhere, all over this base, and that will crackle in time for you to see it in next week's show. I'll show you a picture on Instagram when I've finished here. I'll show you on Instagram a picture of it on when it's wet, so you can actually see, like normal, exactly how this guy looks at the end of the stream. And then in about 24 hours or overnight, have a look on Instagram again, and I'll pop up another picture of the crackle paint after it's crackled, and then you guys can really see the effect that this stuff does if you've never used it before. The thicker you put it on, the bigger the chunks, the bigger the cracks. If you put it on really smooth, it will crack very, very tight, to almost non-existent actually. If you paint this on really thin, or if you thin it down, it will paint to virtually non-existent. It will crackle to non-existent crackle, basically. Now you'll see that I'm putting this on. I have painted the base. Now normally I'll wash the base as well, but I kind of forgot before I just started plopping this stuff down, so I haven't washed the base. Normally I'll wash it in a really rugged and untidy manner, but I didn't do that today, so we'll just give it a nice wash, a decent wash, and make sure when it's crackled, we'll make sure the wash goes in all the crackles. You can't put this stuff straight onto a plastic surface. You do need to prime the base. If you put this stuff straight onto a plastic surface, it will just crackle off. It'll just peel off, just like any other. It just will not stick to bare plastic. I've tried it before. Right, so we're getting to a point now where I've got to try and get between the toes. Now I am catching the model, because I do want the model to look like he's nice and heavy, and even on the dry earth he's kind of sinking in a bit as he's crushing along. He's dent in the earth, leaving his footprints behind. Even though technically there might be a footprint. No, there wouldn't be a footprint behind him, so that's alright. The base isn't quite that big, so it's not going to look a bit odd. There's plenty of play time with this stuff as well, and it doesn't start drying within, you know, minutes. It does take a while to dry, especially when you put it on nice and thick. So take your time, make sure you cover the whole thing, because once it does start drying and it starts to crackle, you don't really want to be touching this stuff. Now I'm going to come in with an older brush. Don't want to use my Series 7s with this stuff. It does get everywhere. I'll start pushing this stuff between his toes and between those toes, and down the side there. Now, question time. This model is almost finished. Okay, I've got to wait for the crackle to dry. The heat bloom effect. The problem with the heat bloom effect, now this is what I'm trying to do. The problem with the heat bloom effect is done with washers. So I'll put a wash on, and I need to leave the wash to dry before moving on to the next wash, which is going to take some time. Shall I start a new project next week? Do you want me to finish this? This guy needs a dry brush, pick out his wax seals, and do his heat bloom, and I think he's pretty much done. Do you guys want me to start a new project next week, or do you want me to carry on with this model until it's complete? That's the question. I'll finish for today. And I'm not sure how interesting next week's show might be. It's kind of going to be a case of, you know, is it going to be an interesting enough show for you all to kind of watch along and kind of really find it interesting? Something's gone wrong with that, and I'm not quite sure why. There we go. Let's just pop that one back up. There we go. He's there. He's supposed to be there waiting for you. Yeah, I'm not sure how interesting next week's show is going to be, to be honest. This is going to crackle. It'll be ready, and I'll dry brush that, and I'll tidy up the base. Picking out his wax seals, giving them a touch up just so that they, you know, are not just purple, and then washing the heat bloom effect. It could be quite a boring show. I'm not sure what you guys think. Next week you'll be here. That's good, Tim. What am I going to do? Do I open up the voting for the next project to my patrons yet, or do you want me to just crack on with this and see what happens? If you want, throw it in the comments, or throw it in any of my social media, Facebook or Instagram. Everything's down there. You can have a look to see what you think. You know, let me know. Just tell me. You know, this channel is for you guys. So at the end of the day, whatever you want, I will get done. Really. So, what do you think? Shall I start on the new channel, or perhaps maybe while he gets finished off, while you're waiting for washers to dry, I could then move on to start building the next project, so that, you know, I'm doing kind of 2 projects at once at the end of the show. The following 2 weeks you'll be on holiday in Italy. Well, it's alright for some, isn't it? Italy? I went to Hastings 1 week. Yeah. Alright. That's it from me tonight. Alright. Have a look on Instagram when I'm finished. When I've finished it, I'll grab a picture, I'll stick it on Instagram and on Facebook. You get to see what this guy looks like now. You'll see tomorrow what he looks like after the grackle paint is finished, and whatever. Give me your views whether I should do 2 projects or just stick with the one next week and we'll get building. Because, like I said, Tim, if you're not here for the following 2 weeks, you'll miss the build anyway. Because I can guarantee this model will be finished in next week's show, so we'll see what happens. Need pizza. Brilliant. Alright. Good night, Wyatt. You head off to bed. I'll say good night to you, Tim. I don't think Reese is still watching, but if she is, I'll say good night to her as well. Yeah, thank you for watching this week, and I'll check out all my links in the description below, and I'll catch you next week for the next stream. Alright guys, thank you very much. You think 2 projects? That'll probably be how it'll go then, I reckon. But for this week, he's done. I'll have a look on Instagram, and I'll catch you guys next week. Alright, thank you for watching. Ta-ra.